That's kind of orange. Okay, this is my, I would say it's my top 10 albums, but it's probably more so just a list of albums that over the years I kind of keep going back to. In other words, I just put them on, things I can just listen to and just keep going back to for whatever reason. The first up is U2, The Joshua Tree. It got to be one of the great albums out there, man. As far as rock and roll, I really wasn't into U2 until this album come out, and once it came out and I got sucked into it, I went and got all their earlier albums, and then yeah, it's great, man. All their stuff from like the '80s is pretty good stuff. After the Octung Baby album and Zooropa is probably the last one, which that's probably one of my favorite albums by them too. That in October. But after that, and War, and and The Unforgettable Fire. But yeah, The Joshua Tree. And after that, I kind of lost interest. I moved on to other things. But number 2 would probably be, because this album goes back to when I was probably 13 when it came out, 12 or 13, The Police, Ghost in the Machine. And it's the first album that really sucked me in heavy and made an impression on me, and to this day I still think it's their best album. It's their masterpiece. They might have a better song here or there, but pound for pound, that's the Police's masterpiece in my opinion, where they sounded, this is the Police. Always thought Synchronicity was like the first Sting solo album, so yeah, that it goes to the machine. Number 3 would probably Led Zeppelin album, probably Houses of the Holy, even though I really don't like the cringe, but it's still probably my favorite album by them. And I also have kind of warmed up to Led Zeppelin 4 over the years, and I mean, you can't go wrong with Misty Mountain Hop and When the Levee Breaks and Black Dog, and and every other song on the album. But and then there's also Physical Graffiti, which could be on there just as well with your Custard Pie, In the Light. What else is on there? Trampled Underfoot, Cashmere. Just anyway, you get the picture. The Rover, But number 4 up would be Ray Barretto, Acid. It's from 1969. It's like the deeper shade of soul. It's that, and it's mostly instrumental, a lot of instrumental, but it's like a Cuban Afro kind of thing. I don't really know the what you would actually call the music, but it's got a heavy Latin flavor to it, and it's just like a super vibey album that if you're having a party, throw Ray Barretto, Acid on there, and the ladies will be dancing and getting down. Number 5 is Antonio Carlos. I don't know how you say his last name. Jobim, Jobim, but however you pronounce it, the album is Waves. I believe it's from 1967, and it's like the most mellow, psychedelic album I've ever heard, and I could just put it on repeat and just listen to it for weeks. It's great. Number 6 will probably be Miles Davis, like Kinda Blue or Bitches Brew. I like both of them probably equally for different reasons. You can just put it on and just play it. Number 7 would be Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland, because it's just a great sonic landscape of, to me, it's sort of like the Joshua Tree or Dark Side of the Moon, in that you can just put it on. It just takes you on this trip, Number 8 would be the Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. Can't go wrong with Jimmy James, and so what you want, and all the little jazzy groove pieces on there, man. It's just a again, I equate it to like Dark Side of the Moon or something like that, because it's just one continuous flow of really, really awesome stuff. This the album that got me into the Beastie Boys. I had the cassette tape, snagged it from a friend, and put it in and just put it on, and I probably had it on repeat for years. Number 9, Pink Floyd, probably Dark Side of the Moon or Wish You Were Here. Wish You Were Here is the first album that kind of sucked me in back years ago. In recent years, I've kind of warmed up to the Dark Side of the Moon. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably pick Wish You Were Here, or maybe even Metal, which come out before Dark Side of the Moon, which is it's got Echoes on there, which is just awesome. Number 10 would be Lynyrd Skynyrd's first album, Pronounced, because it's one of the great albums. I'd stack that right up there against any Led Zeppelin album or Rolling Stones album or whoever's album. It's just a great album. Who else? That's sort of the top 10, but this could really be the top 10 or 15, and any one of those numbers could be. I would just as well put like the Beastie Boys' Check Your Head at number 2, or put Jimi Hendrix at number 1 with Electric Ladyland. I mean, I just wrote them down as they come to my head. So the Joshua Tree isn't necessarily my favorite album. Probably up there though. And then there's just going from 11 through 15. Might as well just make it that, because you have Curtis Mayfield, the soundtrack to Superfly. This is what got me into Curtis Mayfield, and it's just one of the all-time great, if not the greatest soundtrack ever made. And speaking of soundtracks, the soundtrack for Smokey and the Bandit, with Jerry Reed and Bill Justice, they wrote all the songs and I guess arranged it or whatever musically. But yeah, the soundtrack for Smokey and the Bandit is just superb as well. Heard about the legend of Jesse James, John Henry, just to mention some names. There's a truck driving legend in the South today, man, called Bandit from Atlanta, GA. Every gear jammer. Anyway, next up, again, I could put this right back at probably number 1 or 2 is Sly and the Family Stone. There's a riot going on. Just one of the great albums. Every song on it, I love it. I can put it on repeat and just listen to it for days. But saying that, you could also put Sly and the Family Stone greatest hits in there and just have that on repeat for days too. That's another one. And then there's Stevie Wonder. Inner Visions is one of my all-time favorite albums. Again, that could be right up there with the Joshua Tree or Ghost in the Machine or any Led Zeppelin album. Then you got to get down to the Rolling Stones. Exile on Main Street is probably the one that sticks out for me. It kind of reminds me of the Beastie Boys' Check Your Head, and it's like this collage of just stuff, jams. And it's I never even listened to the damn thing until 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, wow, this is really great. So there's that. And then there's those friggin' Beatle albums. Probably the White Album is the one I kind of go to. That and probably Revolver. That's not to say any of the other ones ain't good, but I think those 2 albums, especially the White Album, just kind of has the most dimensional aspect to it, and is it's just really good. What other albums in there? The soundtrack for Star Wars. I had that as a kid and just wore it out. I've still got the original vinyl. It's just a superb soundtrack, one of the great ones. Other albums I can think of, there's probably a Public Enemy album in there. I love that. Blowout Comb by Diggable Planets is another one that's really great. Yeah, then there's Van Halen. I'd probably pick Fair Warning or Diver Down. A lot of people Look, I don't like Diver Down. It's got too many covers on it, but Diver Down is, man, it's just a great album, especially like Big Bad Bill, you know, Big Bad Bill is sweet when that. Anyway, yeah, I could sit here and rack off albums all day long, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's it. Have a good one. Bye.